my nostalgia doesn't really get activated like that. Like, I don't have that chromosome in my body, that bit of my DNA that allows me to feel that emotion anymore for old stuff.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes they're approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep bringing comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dal.
Del.
W. Dal Bush.
I have good news for every single person listening to this podcast.
Does that include me?
That includes you.
Oh,
I was just going to say it includes you.
I guess I got to start listening now.
Yeah. We're not in a car.
Yeah.
We are not in a car.
Very much not in a car.
So we only record in a car when we kind of have to. And
yeah, when the alternative is there will be no episode of Contest of Challengers this week, which Patrick fights so hard to have not happen. Patrick and Patrick alone fight so hard to not have happen.
But maybe if it's in the car, we should skip it. Last week, we tried the first time we're using our lapel microphones in the car. And I did explain this last week. I did do a little drop-in explanation where there was this horrific squelch that lasted for what felt like minutes, but was probably just like 5 seconds. And then after that, an entire section where we were talking about our expectations for Deadpool Wolverine as far as how it would affect sales of comics and things, not plot, because who cares? That
not going to help Dazzler sales, I'll tell you that much.
We were just, and that was the point we brought up. Yeah, it was completely muffled, so it had to get cut out. It wasn't very long; it was a few minutes, but it was unexpected.
That movie came out before we FOC'd Dazzler #1. I'm very glad for that.
The changes you could have made.
The additional sales I will not expect to have happen now.
Speaking of sales, I need a better segue than just speaking of, because that's always my segue going to.
I don't know.
I did the July 2024 numbers, and something that I thought was working in our favor was that there were 5 Wednesdays for July 2024. And we're always comparing this month to the same month last year.
Right.
It never has specifics as to dollar amount spent on product each time, number of releases, cover price of releases. We just look strictly at gross sales month to month.
Yeah.
Any guesses on how we did in comparison?
Down.
Any guesses how much down?
10%.
Oh, I didn't do percentages.
Oh, then I don't know.
Not quite $2,000.
Okay. It's not terrible.
Yeah, right? That's our barometer.
Yeah.
Not terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's not good. We're, that $2,000, as we've spoken when we talk about sales drops year to year, it's like our infrastructure costs haven't changed. So when you're down $2,000, it's like, where does that $2,000 come out of from the things that you would normally spend money on to keep the business going?
I dare say our infrastructure costs have gone up.
Yeah. Yeah, as with anything in 2024 business, it costs more to do everything. So when you're down $2,000, it's like, well, that $2,000 has to come from somewhere.
Yep.
But as you said, at least it's only $2,000 as opposed to $10,000, like it's been sometimes where it's like, oh my god. Yeah, it's weird because there's frequently times where I feel like things are trending upwards or at least maintaining themselves.
Agreed. And
yet you get to the end of the month and you're like, no, we've made less money. That's it. That's how the calculation balanced out.
This is how I explained it to David Harper for a sketch article was, it's down, but it doesn't feel down. Like it doesn't have the depression of being down.
Yeah, the last few years, certainly as we adjusted to a post-COVID landscape, the difference year to year would sometimes feel very evident. Even if you were in the middle of the month and you didn't know how things were going to shake out, you'd just be in a day and think, this is so much less busy than it was a year ago, or oh my God, like we are not moving as many copies of books as we did a year ago. We're not unpacking as many boxes as we did a year ago. It doesn't really feel that way anymore. Maybe that's just because what we're seeing now, again, $2,000, it's an amount of money, but when you look at it over a month, it's like, it's honestly not a huge amount of money.
Sure.
It's what amounts to, maybe an additional 8 to 10 sales a week, maybe.
I would just feel better about being down $2,000 if there were 4 Wednesdays, not 5.
Well, as we saw in at least one of the Wednesdays, the releases were terrible.
Sure.
This past week, we actually did really well despite an incredibly lackluster amount of releases.
DC Comics had 4 periodicals released this week. One of them was a facsimile.
I could hold in one hand, and I do have a large hand, I could hold in one hand easily all of the shelf copies for DC books this week when I was putting them out. When I usually we need like a box.
Yeah, sure.
This was one hand after we accounted for subscription copies. But weirdly, the really bad week this month wasn't even necessarily a small release week. The 5th Wednesday was by far the smallest amount of releases, but it included Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Force #1, Saga,
Blood Hunt
#5. So there were things that drew people into the store, so they were still buying stuff. There was a week this month, I don't remember which one it was.
I think it was the 3rd week,
but
second or third.
We got to the end of it, and it was like, this is unexpectedly horrible. Just nobody came in, and when they came in, they just didn't buy anything. So when one of those happens over a 5 Wednesday month, it's really like you just had, 4.25 Wednesdays. It doesn't really work out the way you think it's going to.
But seeing as how we are in August right now,
yeah,
right around the corner from September, and what always happens in September?
Things drop off like a rock September 1st.
Yep.
It's very strange. It's like everyone forgets how to get to the comic shop in September.
It's such a weird happening.
It really is.
Because it always happens.
Yeah.
But
16 years.
There's no rationale for it.
There are little things like the weather changes slightly and kids go back to school or whatever.
Kids go back to school 2 weeks before that.
Again, I mean, I'm not saying there's a specific cause and effect. I'm saying there's a lot of little things, but somehow they all add together to people's schedules changing, their routines changing. So all of a sudden they're just not going out to the comic shop. And a lot of our traffic, especially on the weekends, is very much people out and about in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I think once fall hits and like the summer excursion sort of stuff stops, then those trips out on the weekend just stop happening because people are so busy during the week for whatever reason that they don't think about taking time to leave the house on Saturday or Sunday.
What makes me think it's always just a mental change with people is that...
It definitely is, but yes, go on.
Is that summer goes to the end of September. It's still summer until September 21st.
Yeah, but again, it is mostly a mental thing.
Sure.
I think people think of it as June, July, August. They're very much in that mode.
Sure, and when school starts, it's fall.
Right.
And also, temperature-wise, it stays hotter later in the year now.
It's true. I mean, baseball season doesn't stop until the beginning of October.
Well,
football season has already started, though.
It depends on if you are a Cubs fan or a Sox fan, because if you're a Sox fan, baseball never started this year.
No, they had, I think, a good game.
Were you there?
No, I haven't been at any good games. Oh my God. I've only been to the hilariously bad ones, which is a majority of the games this season.
Well, at least hilarious means you're having a good time.
Come on, 121. Only thing I'm rooting for.
Would you ever buy, I just thought of this now, a Sox jersey with the number 120, like the player number 121?
If they get there, yes. Oh my God.
Now, you'd have to wait until the season's over because it could be like 124.
Of course, and they would never make it. Like, they would never make that jersey or shirt.
Sure.
You would have to be a fan thing, but yeah, I'd buy it, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, would it be your name across the back?
No, I don't need my name on it.
I mean, but if it's a jersey, they all have names on them.
They do and they don't. You can buy blank jerseys or you can buy no-name jerseys.
But I mean, look.
Switching gears, I would never want to buy, no matter what team I'm supporting, I would never want to buy a jersey with a player's name on it because I know that players leave teams all the time.
Right. But, I said your name.
I know. So I was doing a quick sidebar of a separate thought.
But also, you would never wear this jersey out of the house.
I'd wear it to Sox games.
Would you really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So what if you just said like 2024?
No.
Actually, I'd have to say 23 to 24.
Yeah. No, it would just say 2024.
Okay.
They only play in a calendar year.
And now I know why you don't want your name on the back of it if you're wearing it to a game.
Yeah. It's signifying.
What
an
about
event, not me
the
personally.
manager's last name?
Griffel?
Yeah, what if it said Griffel?
Oh man, maybe. But that would make it sound like I was giving him sole responsibility
Sure.
for it.
Yeah.
And Patrick, you don't get to over 120 losses in a season without it being a complete team effort. I mean, the front office, I mean, ownership, managers, people in the payroll department, players for sure. So many players, some of which are no longer playing for the Chicago White Sox. And I hope they're happy with their current endeavors.
Probably already having better years, better seasons.
Any team they went to after being traded, even if they're not playing, is a better team than the Chicago White Sox. So they all literally
I mean,
traded
that
up.
is statistically
Every
factual.
single one of them, no matter what team they landed on. Even AAA teams, better than the Chicago White Sox. Anyway, Patrick, that has nothing to do with comic books. Let's talk about comic books.
Sure. We got in a shipment this week an invoice from Diamond for a different store. Now, I didn't look up where this store was. I don't know if you did.
I do not.
We're not going to mention their name.
I can
but,
if you want.
But what's that?
Or if you want to give me the name real quick, I can look them up.
Oh, sure. It's such a generic comic shop name. I think we
Really
mentioned
is.
before, the most common name for a comic book shop in the United States is Keith's Comics.
Yeah, right.
There's a bunch of those.
I don't know if they have their address.
And
on
the-
here. Oh no, they're in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. The second most common name is Comic Relief.
There's a lot of All-Star comics.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of Gotham City comics as well. There's a lot of kind of like generic comic book.
I just want you to know,
names.
as far as I'm concerned, there's only one All-Star Comics, and it's not even in this country.
I know. It used to be there would be like all of the like Golden Age book names people
Yeah.
would name their stores after, but I think as that's 100 years ago, close to it, we are pretty far away from those books having a lot of significance.
So looking over the ordering practices, because this is a full week's worth of books
Yeah.
for this store,
Mhm.
and what I was most interested in was the replenishment breakdown as to what kind of other stuff they get.
Sure.
But while my head was kind of exploding while reading this,
Yeah.
I also came to the realization at the end of this that they may be getting other books from other distributors.
Well, there's books that Diamond does on wholesale that you can order direct from other distributors, and they're getting them from Diamond.
Right.
So there's things you have to get, like you're not getting your DC stuff from Diamond.
Correct.
So that's definitely going through Lunar. But it seems like everything else they're just getting from Diamond.
Yes, but
I don't know that you're
Almost-
ordering those quantities for Marvel books from Diamond and then also from PRH. There's no
okay.
way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But specifically, I was thinking of Image and Lunar.
Yeah, again, DC you have to get from Lunar. Image,
Right.
Can you wholesale Image through Diamond?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know that they're going to bother splitting it. Like, why would you get it from one and not the other?
Because
The discount seems pretty similar.
their numbers for their Image books. Well, here, let's just...
I mean, if you're going to say they're too low to just be from Diamond alone, that's a lot of comic shops. man.
right. But I mean...
We get the highest possible discount from Lunar for Image stuff possible. And
there's a level up. No?
we get the
Okay.
highest level. And honestly, we crush it. Because the levels are so low, because most stores, even ones that are ordering significantly higher Marvel stuff than we do, order way less Image stuff than we do. And that's something that Image is trying to promote with their better discount tiers is, hey, increase your Image orders because it's more profitable for you to sell Image books than it is for you to sell Marvel books.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Like for us, especially for restock stuff, because they'll frequently have additional discount. I don't know how to say it. Like a bonus discount for ordering certain Image graphic novels based on whatever they're promoting over a given week. Like I think for Power Fantasy coming up, it was like you can get Die and Phonogram and
Sure.
other Kieran Gillen stuff at a higher discount. And the higher discount is just a bonus percentage off of your what you would normally do. But the thing is, our normal discount is so high that when they give like an additional 5% or whatever, it's like I'm going to order 10 extra copies of that graphic novel because it is so cheap for us to stock it.
Sure. Okay, so I'm just going to pick and choose. We're not going to go down the whole invoice.
Okie doke.
But starting with Amazing Spider-Man, they get 85 copies.
They do.
That is more than us.
Yeah.
They only have...
not quite double. Close.
No.
I mean, I just did recent FOCs. So when I say not quite double, it's like...
I mean, I'm assuming that this is close to our number.
That's higher than our number right now.
Okay. But like by a
6?
handful?
6?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
4 to 6 copies.
And they get 2 copies of a variant cover, just one cover. When Spider-Man has always like 5 or 6 covers to choose from.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'll probably use some hard numbers in this because it's just easier to talk about than in my head trying to do a percentage. But we order nowadays, I think, for like the Disney What If variants for ASM, we do 8 or so, 7 or 8.
Yeah, we used to do higher, but now it's down to more.
Because I hate having them on the shelf and they do sit around.
Yeah.
Now.
I'm looking for a copy of ASM 50 today. Like the issue number is never prevalent on those covers.
Yeah, we have to flip them around when we put them on the shelf because otherwise you'll never know what book it is. The other covers for ASM, honestly, I don't even order for the shelf because they're always just some random Spider-Man image.
Sure.
He's swinging through the city. He's leaping over a building. He's crying about Aunt May, whatever. Like, it's images you've seen hundreds of times. There's no significance to them. I'm not ordering those for the shelf. If it was a specific cool variant or we had a ton of pre-orders, like there was a Pablo Villalobos Black Cat cover that we had like 6 pre-orders for, I'll order a few extra. But when it's just a random Chris Samnee draws Spider-Man on a bus or whatever, and we had 2 pre-orders, it's like, well, I'm not getting it for the shelf. I love Chris Samnee.
You probably already caught this today, but all of our...
Yep.
Yeah. They're still in the box, but like in a magazine bag together.
The good news is, since you reported them today, hopefully we'll get them Tuesday or Wednesday, but who knows?
They were all at the bottom of the box, and the box got dropped on its corner, apparently. It was crushed when it came in, so those all got mangled. And I was worried about them kicking back that quantity.
No, I don't think they care a whole lot.
Yeah.
The thing is, because of the type of variant cover it is, I think the damage is way more visible.
Interesting. When is Hasbro PulseCon?
September.
Okay.
Wait, what is it?
A convention about toys?
No. You're going to probably edit this out.
I'm definitely not.
Okay. Is it the Death Set thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they were going to have those at PulseCon as well. That was a San Diego exclusive.
Right. I knew that. Charles had asked if I had pre-ordered it, and I said I didn't know it was available, and I scoured the internet today, and it's only resellers going for $90 to $120.
So I have a Hasbro Pulse subscription.
Okay.
Which means I get free shipping.
Okay.
And I'm already getting a specific Transformers Hasbro PulseCon exclusive. And if they're doing Death Set, I'll want one too. So I will probably just throw one on for you then.
Okay. We'll throw one on for Charles as well.
I don't know how many I can order.
Okay.
They frequently have limits for that sort of stuff. And I've never
hit
the limit because I'm usually just ordering for me.
Okay. Going back into this.
Yes.
Anansi Boys from Dark Horse, 1 copy. Annihilation 2099, 12 copies. Significantly more than we do.
Well, we only order that subscription only because it's a weekly series from Marvel, and I'm never going to order those to the shelf if I can avoid it. And I can easily avoid it when it's a $20.99 weekly miniseries.
Archie Comics Judgment Day, 7 copies over 2 covers.
That is more than we ordered.
We ordered 2, and that's probably too many.
Yeah, I thought it would have more appeal.
Like we have somebody who ordered the B cover,
it's a subscriber,
and it's Aubrey Sitterson.
Well, it's just that we've done well with the various Archie horror comics before, and I thought, oh, it's an Archie thing we can put in the Archie section, and so people are going to find it. We ordered a bunch of the first issue, and nobody cared.
Biker Mice from Mars. They had 1 order for the blank cover, and that's equal to us because ours were subscription only.
I feel like some of that stuff is not new this week.
Okay. Black Widow Venomous 15. That's on par with us.
It's a little bit more. It's like a third as many as we order.
Blade Runner Tokyo Nexus 6 between 2 covers, but 1 is the C cover, so it's clearly a special order, I would say. Blood Hunt, they did 60.
But.
And then 5 Peach Momokos.
Keep
Oh,
going.
and also 50 of the red bands.
Twice as many as we ordered.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
Well, it's
where
twice as many we ordered of the red band.
we have the red band. Yeah. The
And they also still keep getting the teeth.
The A cover is around what we ordered, and I think we probably ordered more of the Peach Momoko and Makman Asrar variants, I think.
Captain Marvel this week? Okay. One bundle of comic shop news. Things we don't carry, like cross country.
Get to the previews.
Okay. Department of Truth.
previews
Ready for this?
number.
Department of Truth, number 24?
Yes.
1.
Again, these are stores that don't carry image stuff. They don't care about it. And I
Falling
don't
in
know
Love on the
why.
Path to Hell? Well, it's third printing. 1.
Probably a special order.
Fantastic Four? Wait. Was 22 this week's? There was an issue this week.
Yeah. I don't know what issue number it was. I can look it up.
Well, they don't have another Fantastic Four on here, so it's got to be that. It's also a May code, so yeah, it's got to be.
Okay.
Fantastic Four, number 22?
Mhm.
1.
Can't be right. I'm going to go to our info page. and
Firefly
upcoming releases.
Versus?
I'm gonna go
Ready
to
for this?
731. It's 731, right?
Firefly.
Fantastic Four 22 is this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're to 1. Firefly Versus, they ordered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different covers for a total of 21 copies.
Crazy.
Yep. Forged from Image, 1.
God, maybe they are doing stuff through Lunar.
Gargoyles Quest, 20. Gargoyles, 20. Also,
Very weird.
2 of other covers. 2 of each other covers. Godzilla Rivals, they did 4.
Like if they're just doing ones of image stuff, it must be some weird.
See, that's what I'm thinking as
I
well.
think you might be right.
Because my
Yeah.
point is, grommets 1,
Yeah, if it's just one across the board.
but Helverine 1, House of Slaughter 24 plus a bunch of other covers. Immortal Thor, which is that awesome Hercules Thor arm wrestle cover, 1.
But then why? Like, I don't get why you would do it.
85 Amazing Spider-Mans.
Well, yeah, not even that, but like, why are you then, assuming you're splitting that between PRH and Diamond, why?
Yeah.
What possible advantage could there be to splitting it? There's
Okay.
no, like, and just randomly?
They're clearly into Blood Hunt because Midnight Sun's Blood Hunt, 35.
That's a lot, man.
Masterpiece, which I loved, 1. Power Rangers Darkest Hour, 12, and then 1 each of B, C, D, E, J.
Crazy.
Ms. Marvel Annual, 1. Knights, 1. Nottingham, 4. Previews, 40.
Right?
Yeah.
In 2024, 40 copies of reviews.
They are spending over
Crazy.
$100 on previews,
Crazy.
not counting all the different retailer covers and things. Rock and Roll Biographies, Run DMC, 5.
Okay.
Rook Exodus, 1. Here's what made me think they're getting books elsewhere. Saga, 1.
Yeah, and again, it's across the board. It's every single image book is just 1.
Yep.
I don't,
Silicon Bandits, 2. Sonic the Hedgehog, 12. Spawn, 1. Sam and Twitch, 1. Spider-Gwen, 18,
I mean, that's
2,
literally one
1,
of every image book
4,
for the week.
and 5. Star Wars Darth Maul, 22. Turtles Black, White, and Green, 15. We've kind of stopped comparing to ours. Ultimate Spider-Man, 120.
We're getting there.
It's higher than us, though.
It is, yeah. It's maybe 20% higher than us.
What If Donald Duck Became Wolverine, 25.
Which I think is where we landed on that eventually.
Yeah, we should never have ordered more. That was my fault. Oh, hold on.
Like
Let
you
me
said,
go back.
it's got a long shelf life.
Yep.
You're going to be looking at that cover for a while.
So 25, and then of the other covers, ready? 3, 3, 1, 2, 3.
We had some orders for the variants.
X-Force 1, 75.
Okay.
Plus 1, 5, 1, 1, 5, 2, 2, 2. Those are the variant covers.
I don't know that we had that many variant cover
We
orders.
didn't.
I mean, not even quantity. I don't think we had that many covers that people ordered.
Reorders. Interesting to see what other people reorder. Are there any significant quantities in reorders? No, there are not. G.I. Joe Snake Eye statue. Hark a Vagrant, good for them. I Heart Skull Crusher number 3, good for them. MLP Kenbucky Roller Derby. MLP, oh, My Little Pony, never mind. Fascinating audio here as I read and turn pages, and you just do whatever you're doing.
I can't see the pages, so I don't.
A bunch of One
comment on
Pieces,
anything.
some Pogo stuff.
I don't have a copy of this.
Okay, let's just get into replenishment. A Godzilla crystal puzzle. The Iron Fist and Luke Cage 2-pack. Yeah, they have a ton of One Piece stuff. Good for them. A bunch of Ultraman soft vinyls. Yeah, so yeah, definitely their diamond bill is significantly higher on a weekly basis than ours is.
Right, but theirs is also more consolidated, it feels like. But again, it's unclear how much that's true. The Marvel stuff, I can't understand why you'd be ordering that many copies of Blood Hunt from Diamond, but then randomly ordering like Ms. Marvel annual from PRH.
Yeah.
Like, what, again,
but only getting one Immortal Thor and one Fantastic
there's
Four.
no reason financially I can even conceive of why you'd split it. There's no point. Like, if anything, it makes more sense to keep it all at Diamond because your Diamond discount tiers are based on your overall sales. So your overall orders, as opposed to Penguin Random House that doesn't do tiers. It's just a flat discount.
Here's some weird things that have happened recently for my account, which I wonder if this isn't like one person who they needed to cover onesies for somebody's account, or they like, I don't know if this is a thing. If somebody's like, I only want you to buy my books from Diamond or something like that. I don't know.
I can't imagine.
It's possible. I told you the story of, this is a store in Seattle that they had a customer who's been a Pulls List customer for a little over a year, and they had just moved things around, so they moved a bunch of Funko Pops to the front of the store, and this customer canceled their subs because they thought they were shopping at a comic shop, not a Funko Pop store.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like that, though. This is something internally where a store seemed to say, we carry a ton of Marvel books, but only one copy of Immortal Thor. Like, if you're ordering, 80 copies of Amazing Spider-Man?
85, yeah.
You can't sell 5 copies of Immortal Thor. They have to be getting it somewhere else. But why? Why in the world would you order 1/3 of your Marvel comics from Penguin Random House at a similar discount? It seems like, I mean, you can look at the sheet and tell me if it's the same or not.
And there's a bunch of IDW and PRH stuff
at the same discount. There's no, and you're paying shipping getting it from Diamond, as opposed to not paying for shipping. Like, why would you want 1/3 of your Marvel comics to come from Penguin Random House? No more, no less. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. The Image thing, again, there's maybe a thing where you're like, we're going to get all of them from Lunar, but I want to get one of each from Diamond for some weird mental block sort of reason where it's like, we got to make sure we're at least getting some Image stuff from Diamond because
maybe there's
of X,
one
Y, or
customer
Z.
who's so picky they just want to make sure they've got a backup.
Maybe,
like they're the first person in the door on Wednesday.
But it's not like, again, they said, okay, Saga we're going to get from Diamond, but every other Image book we're going to get from Lunar. They only get one copy each of everything. With the Marvel stuff, it's some things from Diamond and probably some stuff from
And look,
Penguin Random
we
House.
know there are stores that don't really carry independent books, but they have a bunch of IDW and
they carry Boom stuff
and Boom and Dark Horse stuff on that invoice. I mean, Boom stuff has to be on that invoice. You can't get it anywhere else.
Right, but if you can
for now,
if you can sell, I'm gonna try and find like a basic if you can sell 4 copies of Cross Country,
which for the record I cannot.
We had one subscriber for it. And we didn't have any for the shelf. I think you can sell more than one copy of, Saga, right? You would think. You would assume there'd be more interest
I would
than
definitely
one copy?
assume and think that, but who knows? It's always just fascinating to get, like, occasionally we'll get a reorder invoice from somebody, but we don't usually get a full weekly invoice from someone. And like if
Honestly,
somebody,
I didn't even know they sent these out anymore.
yeah, and that's the thing.
Do you have to ask for them? You must, right?
It's the opposite. I think we opted out and just said go green.
Oh,
we don't want them. They did an initiative years ago, like, hey, do you still need a paper invoice? Like, no, we don't.
No.
We have our own breakdown sheets that doesn't waste nearly as much paper.
Also, I'm surprised they're not doing them like green bar anymore.
Yeah.
These are just regular printouts that they staple together.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we're some other store to get our full weekly diamond invoice. It is just less than a quarter of our weekly books.
Oh, way less.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it doesn't, like, it wouldn't paint a picture of what our store demographic as far as publishers is like.
Yeah, it's probably an eighth of what we get right now. That number is going to drop after Boom eventually moves to Penguin Random House.
It's all just merchandise now.
It pretty much is. I mean, as the person who unpacks the diamond orders on Tuesdays now, so much of it is just trying to deal with random toys and pop culture things and all that sort of stuff. The comic section
all
is
I'm ordering.
nothing.
So one of the things I like to do with the new to order stuff is I keep it in the cart until Friday, and then I'll place it Friday.
Okay.
Because it gives me a chance to go through it with a second set of eyes, or the same eyes, but later in the week, and make a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a bunch of stuff I took out of it today before I committed it.
Yeah.
Mainly stuff for me, but still.
Sure. It's actually something I added late in it because it was there's a new Transformers animated movie coming out in September called Transformers 1, and the designs are out. I didn't think they were that great. There's nothing I was really that excited about.
I have to tell you, I saw the trailer and it looks terrible.
Well, the first trailer looks terrible, and the second trailer looks mediocre. So if they release a third trailer, maybe that'll be good. The line is going up. But the toys that they're releasing are not anything I was super excited about, either the design or the mechanics of them. So I was just like, I don't care. But Takara Tomy, the Japanese branch of the Transformers design team, is doing their own larger scale Optimus Prime, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe this one. But I didn't really want, like, I saw what it was going for. I'm like, I don't really care. And then Southern Hobby offered it, and I thought, I don't really want to order it from Southern Hobby. They've let us down a lot on Transformers toys.
That's why I did not forward you that email, not assuming you'd get it automatically.
And then Diamond listed it, and I went, well, crap. Because Diamond's actually been doing pretty good about filling orders for me. So I'm like, yeah, I'll get it from Diamond. So I ordered that one. I dropped late in the week, a few days after it had been listed in the catalog. Along with a few other Transformer toys that they listed after the announcements in San Diego.
Sure.
There's a lot of Hasbro stuff that was put on new to order from Diamond this week because of San Diego Comic-Con announcements.
Yep. A lot of it looks fun, but a lot of it we're not carrying.
Right. Oh, yeah. Maybe someday we'll start carrying Transformers to the shelf again.
Ooh, I wonder.
We've sold down on a lot of what was sitting around for a while. So I feel like if there was a good assortment that was coming out, I could probably justify it. But there really hasn't been a great assortment of Transformers stuff coming out. It's a lot of repacks, a lot of repaints, a lot of lesser-known characters. Nothing I thought would move quickly.
I personally have had some success in the last 2 weeks with a lesser-known Japanese property that we have a bunch of toys of. I don't know if you're going to understand this. It's tokusatsu type of storytelling.
Patrick, don't make up words.
Sorry. But I was able to pitch some younger fans on some loose Kamen Rider figures we had.
They're very good and at a very good price.
And they were very excited.
And the bagged ones have been hand stickered.
They had seen a giant PVC Kamen Rider sitting on top of a shelf and said, do you have any other toys? I'm like, do we? Come over here, young boys. Let me show you these. And then today, somebody was looking at Go-Go Loser Ranger.
Yeah.
And I happened to mention that there's a Kamen Rider manga as well. And they're like, oh yeah, I was looking for that. They didn't buy it.
Yeah, that's okay.
But it's weird when I'm the one doing Kamen Rider sales.
I know it feels unnatural to you.
I mean, you're
a good salesman.
I'm not saying that I'm doing it because you're not. I'm doing it because you're not there.
Right.
I would 100% force it upon you.
Oh, thank you.
It wouldn't be forcing. You would willingly do it. A, because you're a fan of the property, but B, because you're good at your job.
It's true. Well, one of those is true.
Sure. It's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including Our annual patrons, Usi Arun Singh, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Brenhelt, Dal's mom Diane Bush, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Borin, Philip Sablik from Boom Studios, Jose and Genevieve Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Michael Romanenko, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew Drew Troit Aaliyah, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton, Claudine Neville, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Brad Brooks, Managed Comics Own, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith of Crooked Dog Comics, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, my brother George Brower, Heidi D., Holly Aitchison, Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Oh Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Dynamite Perry, Nicholas Fenner, my longtime pal Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan, Walt's Comic Shop from Berlin, Germany. And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels. I'm really torn. There's a couple of customer interactions that make for really great stories, but I don't know how much of jerks we are if we start talking about it. And the thing is, with this particular subscriber, everybody who works at Challengers has a story with them. It's not just me.
I don't know that I do.
I feel like you do.
I mean, nothing that really sticks in the memory like everyone else's stories.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like I don't, because if I did, it would probably be as ingrained as Gina's story, Molly's story, your several stories.
Andrew's story.
Andrew's story.
Yeah.
Those I can remember. If something happened to me, I don't, which makes me think it didn't happen.
You block a lot of things out.
And I'm just forgetful.
Yeah. That's part of the blocking it out. This is terrible, because if we don't talk about it now, everyone listening is going to be like, you're jerks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
But maybe it's about them. They don't know. Maybe it's 100% about them. We are going to transition right now. We did have a question from a listener in the faraway land of Australia. They go by the name of Uatu. And it is a subject matter that is near and dear to your heart. So I'm going to let you... Yes.
Oh, okay.
It is the foil pricing of foil covers on a system such as a Managed Comics.
What is the question?
The question is, can you guys talk about that?
Oh, okay, sure. So,
and I here's what I said to them ahead of time, because they said, "Can you talk about it on the podcast?" And I felt like we have before, but I basically said, like, first of all, it's a data issue with the way the publishers give Managed Comics the information.
Yeah. So
it's not a Managed Comics problem, but, take it away down.
So the first thing to mention is that there's kind of two pricing issues when we're dealing with comic books. One is an MSRP, where the publisher puts on the front of the book what the price is. Your average Amazing Spider-Man comic is $4.99. It says $4.99 right on it. And retailers receive a discount off of that so that they are then making a profit on the book and can afford to stay in business. Other books operate under what's called net pricing. Net pricing is just a flat price is charged by the publisher to stores to carry the book. Stores can then charge whatever they want for the book. Oftentimes, a net price is something like $3. And it's like, well, the book doesn't say anything on the front, so a store could charge $6, which would be what's called keystoning, where you're taking whatever you're paying and you're doubling that, and then the extra money becomes your profit. Or you can charge whatever you want. You could charge $4 if you think that's going to make the book move faster. You could charge $10 if you think that there's a ton of interest and you don't have enough copies. It's up to the individual store because nothing on the book says what the price is. Most non-comic items are a net price item. Toys that we get for like Hasbro Marvel Legends, there's no printed price on them. They don't have an MSRP.
Or do I wish we could keystone those?
Yeah, they could have a suggested, not even a suggested retail price. They might, but there's nothing on the individual package that says what the cost of the item is to the consumer, so a store can then charge whatever they want. It's really just weirdly specific things like books that have a printed price on them. So one of the difficulties we have with comics and managed comics is that managed comics basically needs to tell the consumer, here's what the book is going to cost. And that is all a central data issue based on what they receive from distributors like Penguin Random House, Diamond, Lunar. What the problem becomes is they have to come up with a price for a net price item to say to the consumer, here's what you're going to be getting. They can't say it's question mark, because then there's really no agreement over what you're actually getting.
Also, isn't there something that they can't leave the field blank?
Well, that's the thing. They could put in a question mark or an asterisk or whatever, but what we usually have to do for any sort of net cost item is someone pre-orders it, and then we have to say, okay, I know it says $19.62, but that is our cost of the item. We are not going to sell it to you at $19.62 and make zero profit. We are going to charge you $28.99. Are you okay with getting charged $28.99 for this, and then you accept it, and then we order it for you, or you decline it and we don't order it for you? Marvel foil covers are not net cost items. What they are, inexplicably, is short discount items. A normal store's discount for Marvel Comics is around 50%.
Yeah, it could be as low as 35. It could be as high as 57.
Right. But the average, maybe even the median, is 50%. Foil covers do not hold a 50% discount no matter who you order them from. They hold a 10% discount. So if a cover price for a foil comic says $4.99 and the cover price on a non-foil cover says $4.99, the non-foil one we're paying about $2.50 for, the foil one we're paying about $4.49 for. We are not going to carry for the shelf or for subscribers who get a 5% discount a book at a 10% profit margin. That's insane. We will, and we've made this decision for as long as they've been doing the short discount, we would rather not carry them at all.
Correct.
If you are willing to pre-order them, we are going to tell you that we're going to be charging pretty much double cover, because that's what we would normally charge as far as a profit margin goes for any other comic or book that we carry. And there's absolutely no reason why Marvel couldn't put $9.99 on the cover and give us our normal discount. They don't do that, and I will never understand why. And if anyone from Marvel is listening to this podcast and wants to shoot us an email to explain why in the world Marvel foil covers, and this is for only Marvel, DC foil covers, regular discount.
Yeah.
They just charge like $6.99 or whatever.
Yeah.
They charge a couple bucks more, and they put that on the cover, and
There
they
were
give us our normal
multiple
discount.
covers, DC foil covers I had approved today in...
Managed comics.
Yeah, thanks.
But Marvel puts the exact same cover price on their foil covers as they do all of their normal cover stock covers, even though we're paying significantly more as a store for the foil covers than we do the non-foil covers. Marvel is okay with us making significantly less on the foil covers, but Marvel is not okay with making significantly less on the foil covers. Anyway, the problem we have is that Managed Comics basically says, okay, well, the cover price is the cover price. It doesn't understand that we're making less on it. So for every Marvel foil variant that somebody pre-orders, we have to go in by hand and say, no, much like a net cost item, I know you're seeing $5.50, it's going to be $10. And again, you accept it as a consumer and we order it for you, or you decline it as a consumer and we don't order it for you. Most people accept it, especially people who have been ordering foil covers from us since Marvel's been doing this over the last year. They know the score. They understand what we charge. They're used to it, so they're going to keep pre-ordering the covers if they're okay paying for it. We don't carry them for the shelf. We had an X-Force #1 foil variant on the shelf this week because a subscriber who was down for it is no longer a subscriber, and we put 999 and sold it. And I thought, do we need to start carrying these things now? But then I'm like, no, that was a fluke, and I don't want to bet on that.
No. I also have a thing against foil covers for facsimiles.
Yeah, I think they're dumb, but we do have a subscriber who gets them, and if he's enjoying them, great. We'll continue to order them for him.
I just feel like it's not a facsimile when you're changing the way the cover is.
No,
I know you're not changing the art.
It's like the 1 in 25 incentive variants they do for facsimiles, where someone else draws the character, not even recreating the image necessarily, just doing
their version of
like a black costume Spider-Man, and it's like, but it's not a facsimile anymore. Why would you want that?
It's hilarious that you're saying that when we're literally getting that this week.
Yeah, we finally qualified for one, but it's the one that every store on the planet's going to qualify for,
right.
So it's probably not going to be worth that much. Usually those things go for like $60 or $70 online. Ours probably won't go for even close to that. One of the things that I hope Managed Comics could do at some point, even though they are neck deep in a lot of other upgrades that they're rolling out, and I don't want to be greedy, is something for net cost and specifically short discount items where no specific price is displayed for the consumer, so they don't see an erroneous low price that we have to then tell them, no, I know it says that much, that we can't charge you that we would go out of business carrying stuff at zero profit. We have to charge you this higher price. I prefer they say, like previews did for the longest time, like inquire with retailer or something. I can't remember how they please inquire.
Yeah,
is what they would always use for net cost items. The suggested consumer price would be please inquire. So the consumer would see please inquire. They'd go to a store and say, how much is the statue going to be? And then the store could work out their math and figure out what they wanted to charge and go, okay, it's going to be $249.99, rather than displaying to the consumer what the cost of the item is to the retailer and then expecting the retailer to honor that, which no retailer should ever do. Unless you own the company that is providing these things to you, you probably are not going to get it at cost. That's just how business
probably not.
works.
No, probably not, for sure.
So I hope that answers Uatu's question.
Perhaps it does.
Maybe.
Hey, have you read any of these books?
Yeah, some of them.
I have a list of
I read
books that I have read in advance of them coming out.
This one. I can't believe you read this one.
I didn't hate
this
it.
One. I mean, I will probably read it when it comes out in print, but I didn't want to sit in front of my computer and read it.
I think you especially will like at least the first part of it because it is 100% just a Kyle Rayner story, and the first half is drawn by Darryl Banks.
Yeah, there's a bunch of nostalgia stuff that's in there. I was, a very avid comic collector at the time that was coming out, but I've read enough of those DC anniversaries. 0 Hour 30th anniversary, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
I've read enough of those 30th anniversary projects from DC that my nostalgia doesn't really get activated like that. Like, I don't have that chromosome in my body, that bit of my DNA that allows me to feel that emotion anymore for old stuff. I liked it 30 years ago. That was 30 years ago.
Sure. What I thought was neat was that you get a chapter drawn by Darryl Banks. You get a chapter drawn by Tom Grummett. You get a chapter drawn by...
It was the same thing with all the Death and Return of Superman stuff for the 30th anniversary. They got John Bogdan to come back.
Right, but it was different people for this one.
They got Brett Breeding or whatever. I mean, they got the people that you're supposed to get. And I saw the creator list when they were announcing this, and I went, okay, yeah, that's exactly who you should get for 0 Hour 30th anniversary. But
I read that 30 years ago. It feels like a comic from that era.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a good thing.
Which is not what comics of today feel like. So it's a good little flashback.
Yeah, again, I'll give it a read, but...
For all of DC's upcoming announcements, like the Jeff Lemire Justice Society, where you have an idea of what he's going to do with it and how it's going to be modern and how it's going to feel, getting a book of this, which is basically like a big team book, but like a multiverse team book, it felt like reading a facsimile.
Sure. For the Jeff Lemire Justice Society book, do you just envision them all living on a farm?
I kind of do, yeah. All right, I read Autumn Kingdom #1, which is written by Cullen Bunn and drawn by Christopher Minton. And gosh, is it Boom? Who did that? I can't remember.
Oni, I thought.
Oni, okay. Yeah, I think it's Oni. It's a good fantasy series. It's about a family whose dad is a writer, and they moved to a cabin for the summer to start writing, but there's a history of fantasy element to this cabin that they don't know about, and things immediately take a turn. It feels a little bit like Amulet in
like
some regards. Yeah, you can say it like Lock and Key meets Amulet. I'll take that.
Okay.
Sure, I'm going to use that.
You're welcome.
It's always fun to see Chris Mitten doing interiors. He did also a story in the Super Pet special this week.
Dan Waters, I think, and it was a Dex Star story.
Yeah. So Autumn Kingdom, put that on your radar. And then I'm going to talk about Gotham City Sirens, because that's another one that Dal did not read.
Again, it's one I will probably read when it hits the shelves. I think you had said before that I would probably really like it because it was...
It's a lot like
Leah Williams.
It's Leah Williams doing Exterminators for DC, but tamer.
Right.
It's not R-rated.
No.
But it is a Harley, Ivy, Catwoman team-up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason they're teaming up together, and I think the voices
because all the other creative teams needed a month off.
Right? I think it's accurate, and I like the fact that while it is a weekly miniseries, they're taking away the other books.
One of the things I have sort of against it, and I don't understand why there's 3 art teams on a weekly miniseries. It feels like the sort of thing that this could have been slotted in anywhere. Why not give one art team time to finish 4 issues and then just drop it when it's done? Maybe there's a story reason for it. It didn't really sound like it. And that, I felt that was a mark against it. Like, I'd rather just have one complete creative team do a 4-issue series in a month and be out, instead of like a writer and then this typical superhero comics thing of like, I don't know, 3 random artists. Like, I'd rather feel like one team was doing this together.
Yeah. Maybe with issue 2, it'll have take a different direction. It'll make sense.
I'll read it.
Yeah, but I still think it's enjoyable read.
Mm-hmm.
Should I do Jenny Sparks, or do you want to?
You can start.
So Jenny Sparks, it's written by Tom King and drawn by Jeff Stokes. Jeff Stokes does some amazing covers.
Yeah.
Right now. I have to say that the line art feels a little rough. Like, I would accuse it of being shot from pencils if I didn't know that it was digital.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the art. I thought the art was good.
Yeah,
throughout.
but I mean, I thought
I enjoy his use of color and a lot of his.
I thought it should be tighter.
Digital effects.
I think it needed, dare I say, an inker.
Oof. Yeah, I thought the art was good on this.
Yeah, and the first, as I'm reading this, I was a little frustrated by it because of the seemingly randomness of side stories of other characters who seem uninvolved in the major story, but since this is Tom King, they're not going to be uninvolved for long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they put a little bit too much of an emphasis on it being a Jenny Sparks Batman team up, when it's really just her, but Batman is there to kick her into gear a little bit.
I genuinely didn't understand, as I read the first issue, why it was even a DC comic book.
It's a Wildstorm.
It felt like it could have been anybody, anywhere. You could have replaced every single named character in that book with anybody else from any other universe, or made them up from whole cloth. It's a problem I sometimes have with Tom King stuff, and I adore Tom King as a writer at DC. I've bought so many of his books for my own personal collection because I like his stuff that much. But there's times where I feel like what's happening isn't character-driven at all. It's a story that he wants to tell, and the characters just happen to be the ones acting out that story. And Jenny Sparks really felt like that to me. He gets the Jenny Sparks voice kind of okay right, even though she's given basically a whole new, she's investigating stuff. Like, she's like the boys, but like the Justice League's own The Boys, basically. And it's like, when was that ever the case?
Yeah.
When was that ever a thing? And it is now. Okay, fine. And Captain Atom is Dr. Manhattan instead of being Captain Atom. And it's like, again, when was that ever a thing? It just is for this story, and you just got to get in. Like, you're just on with it. Fine.
What is Jenny Sparks? What is her tagline?
The spirit of the 20th century.
Yeah.
It's 2024, Patrick.
Yeah.
Again, that's the thing where, like, how is that still a thing? But the whole point, like, Jenny Quantum, I think, was the one we got at the end of the original Authority run, because it was like, it's the 21st century. It's a whole new there is a new character that's going to be this. So there's a lot of stuff in there where even the pages and panels where I'm like, oh, this is solid storytelling. It all just felt like, but why? Why is this Jenny Sparks? Why are you using these characters? Everything just felt very haphazard in a premise level.
Do you trust in Tom King to answer those questions? Because if you recall, you felt that way at the start of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Sure.
And how did that book end for you?
Yeah, I bought the deluxe edition hardcover because I liked it enough when it was done. Some stuff does, some stuff doesn't. Strange Adventures, which I also own, I don't think 100% came together in the end. I don't think it ever really felt like an Adam Strange story so much as it was Tom King's version of Adam Strange. And that's the thing a lot of his stuff has, is it doesn't feel like ever part of a shared universe. It might as well be, everything's just Black Label, even if it wasn't pitched that way.
Yeah.
Retroactively, everything he does is Black Label because none of it ever feels like it feeds back into the DC universe.
But that
Except
doesn't
for
mean it's
maybe
not a
Batman.
good story.
Right.
It just doesn't feel like it's as connected.
No, and that's why if this had just been its own separate miniseries, I probably would have loved it twice as much. Because it doesn't have the baggage of, you're using Captain Atom, but you're also fundamentally changing what Captain Atom is. You're using Jenny Sparks, but this is a completely, not completely,
Don't you
but
think
a mostly
Armageddon
different
fundamentally
Jenny Sparks.
changed who Captain Atom was?
No, not really. Because they undid most of that any number of times. Also,
I
that
feel
was
like
23 years ago.
But I feel like this is like, what if they didn't undo that?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I didn't. Issue 1 of Jenny Sparks didn't land for me because it didn't feel. It felt like it was taking a lot of liberties with characters that I don't understand why they even bothered making it a DC comic book. I don't care how it fits into specific continuity, but when there's basic character stuff that changes, it's like, then why? Why? But I will keep reading it. I'm always willing to give Tom King a chance because he's written enough of my all-time favorite comic books that I don't ever want to write it off after one issue, even if I feel like by the time we get to issue 6 or 8 or whatever, I'm still going to think this was not his best work.
It's like, I'm always going to watch Doctor Who.
Right. Even when you don't like entire seasons necessarily.
What did you think of Standstill #1 from Image?
I liked it, question mark.
Now, when the premise was announced, we were both very excited for
Yes,
it.
but we were also unable to really pitch it to people because we're like, this is a very long description.
Yeah.
And it's not an elevator pitch kind of book. But we were like, this sounds kind of cool and the preview pages look good. We'll order a bunch and try and hand sell it. And I did read the PDF. It's weird because I feel like it's one of those books where the solicit gives away the first 3 issues. Because a lot of what's in the solicit is not in issue 1.
Yeah, that's definitely a drawback. But basically, it's what if Hunter S. Thompson had a time machine and got to punish anyone he thought needed punishing and reward people that he thought needed rewarding.
Yeah.
And then what happens when people find out he's doing it but don't know how to stop him?
Right.
And when I say Hunter S. Thompson, I mean just for the look alone, not for the personality.
Yeah, the personality is just, it's very hard to pin down because we don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem through the first issue is the point of the story is that he's an enigma. You don't know what he's doing or why he's doing it. But then you get to the end of the book and it's like, there's no one in this book that I'm invested in. Because we only spend time with a couple other people.
Yeah.
And those people are not super compelling. So
I mean, I definitely want to see where this is going.
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly put it at something like, it's 100 bullets with a time machine. Or not even a time machine, it's just a time-stopping device. He doesn't, like, go backwards in time. He's just stopping time, doing stuff, and then you're seeing it from everyone else's perspective. You're seeing the after effects of him getting his weird revenge or whatever. It's good. Andrew Robinson does the art, which is one of the reasons I was excited about it. I think it's a solid Image book, but it's weird how many Image books I feel like don't land the first issue. It's a real thing I wish Image as a publisher would kind of get on people more for when they are trying to launch limited series or ongoing series, is like,
Get to the point immediately.
do not think about this as your first 5-issue arc or your first 6-issue trade. Think of this as one single comic book that you have to pitch somebody on, period.
Yeah.
They got to read this thing, and they're not going to give you a second issue. No matter what cliffhanger you put there, it cannot be such a good cliffhanger where they got to come back for issue 2. What's going to make them come back for issue 2 is enjoying issue 1 fully and feeling like they understood what ride they're in for. If you can't give them that, it doesn't matter how great your last page is. Too many books have done this thing where they give you the premise on the absolute last page of the first issue, and it's like you're too late.
Yep.
You're at least 10 pages too late to get this across.
I was talking about this book. Actually, Mitchell was talking about this book to me because I hadn't read it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I like it. I don't know how I'm going to pitch it or who I'm going to pitch it to.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what genre it's 100% in. Crime mystery / sci-fi, I guess. There's not really a good comparison book to latch it onto. It's not like if you like whatever. Again, I said 100 Bullets, but it's like there hasn't been a new 100 Bullets book in like 10 years. The trades, I don't think are even still in print.
Take that, Brother Lono.
I guess.
Okay, last up
Let's
is
finish strong.
DC vs. Vampires World War V #1.
It's good. It's the 13th issue of DC
It
vs.
is.
Vampires.
It is literally the 13th issue of DC vs. Vampires. It's still Matthew Rosenberg.
Yeah.
It's still Otto Schmidt. It is literally what happens next.
Yeah, I hope you read the first 12 because otherwise you're not going to understand what's happening. They give you reminders, but they expect you to have read the first 12 issues.
But it's good. Like I thought that DC vs. Vampires ended at a good place. Like the story's over, but like okay,
No.
like that story's over, but just we're done with this world. But it's like no, and this is another 12-issue series.
Yeah, and they immediately bring in characters that were not in the first one where I'm like, oh, I forgot those characters weren't in this one.
Right?
And they're very cool. They get some very cool, gross vampire superhero scenes out of it. It's good.
Yeah, I thought it was a good, a very good 13th issue.
Yeah. And the good news is volumes 1 and 2 of DC vs. Vampires are still in print. Maybe not in the exact same format for each of them, but they're still in print. So if you hadn't read the first 12 issues and want to catch up on it before World War V comes out, we can definitely do that. And I would recommend it because I thought that was a good series.
Yeah, I like that it's
Was that
everybody
Rosenberg?
Technically, yes.
Okay. And then the new one's just Rosenberg.
Yeah. And then it was Alex Packnadel who did
The black and white and red one.
yeah, and then there was a couple
Which
of
I'm not counting.
one-shots that were part of that as well.
I don't remember.
Like a
those.
Harley Quinn one-shot.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to keep separate in my head the deceased universe
Oh, sure.
from
Yeah.
the vampire universe.
Weirdly, in my head, Dark Knights of Steel and DC vs. Vampires exist in the same space because they were coming out kind of simultaneously.
But deceased doesn't.
No, 'cause I wasn't really reading Deceased.
Okay.
So that Deceased and like Injustice are two things where I'm like, I'm aware of them, but I wasn't
Yeah.
reading them.
Yeah.
But I was reading Dark Knights of Steel and DC vs. Vampires, and they were both 12-issue series, and they were both alternate universes, and they were both
Sure.
really good, and both coming out
Yeah.
sometimes the same week. And it was
Well,
like,
so they started at the same time, but DC vs. Vampires almost lapped Dark Knights of Steel because there were a lot of delays in early issues of
yeah, they
Dark Knights
were
of Steel.
not monthly by the second half.
which,
Although,
ironically, there is a Dark Knights of Steel series out right now as well.
feel like DC versus Vampires didn't get as far ahead because I think they took a break between 6 and 7, and that's when they did some of their miniseries and stuff. Because I think they gave themselves like a break between.
But they were also running late and had to have Bengal come in.
happened. Did they really?
Yeah.
No, that was on Dark Knights of Steel.
What are you talking about?
DC versus Vampires.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were still talking about
No.
Dark Knights of Steel.
No, DC versus Vampires. I think they did a break between 6 and 7. Their first 6 and their second 6,
Oh, I don't
and they
remember
did
if they
some
did.
stuff in there.
Huh. Well, it's a moot point because there's 12 new issues coming out.
Correct, and they look good.
They definitely do. Yeah, that was mainly DC books, but I jumped in as...
Because almost no one gives us anything else.
It's true.
I downloaded some other stuff that I haven't had a chance to read yet. Red Before Black, I haven't read yet.
I talked about that a
You
few weeks
did,
ago.
and I'm
It's coming out this
Looking
week.
forward to it. There was, I think, one other thing that I downloaded, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah. But I did finally read some previews this week, so
That's
we could
good.
talk about them.
Hooray!
My job.
I appreciate you doing that.
You're welcome, Patrick. I did it for you.
I feel like there's one or two other things I wanted to touch on from either San Diego information. Mitchell asked me what my favorite story coming out of San Diego was, and I said, The Return of the DC Bullet. It's the graphic designer in me. Always love that logo.
Sure.
I also like the
Nostalgia.
I like
It's
the
a hell of a
peel.
drug.
No one else liked the peel. I liked the peel logo, but also I wasn't oversaturated with peel logos in that time period. Like I guess a lot of people were.
Well, I think the Peel logo was one that worked really well animated. I don't think it worked well as a still image.
Sure. Very excited to see that come back. Less excited to see the Marvel Comics logo hit Marvel Comics.
Sure.
They have to put it under the word Marvel, right?
Sure, they'll figure it out.
It can't be horizontal. Can't be. I don't know. It's the very unfortunate human trafficking story has made the rounds lately. I don't know if you've heard that. Oh, there was a massive
Oh no.
San Diego Comic-Con human trafficking sting
Oh my God.
where it's a good news story where many people were arrested and
Okay.
many adults were freed.
That's great.
And this was a planned sting in a well executed operation, but apparently San Diego Comic-Con is a easy place for human traffickers. Let me just put that word in there. Human
Okay.
traffickers to traffic
Gross.
humans. Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. I wouldn't advise you look it up. I'm sure you won't.
Yeah, it
Right.
hadn't come up in any of my normal sites that I follow, so that's gross and weird.
Yeah, but good that they did their job.
Yeah, I mean, good that people were arrested for it, but gross that it happened.
Yeah. Last week we didn't talk about. Did we talk about the other publishers that came out? No, because we didn't know when we recorded.
The only thing we talked about was DC Comic Books because they released their catalog.
Yeah. So we already knew about Scott Dunbier and his Act 4
Mhm.
company. There were big rumors of Jamie Rich from DC and from Oni and from not Comixology, but he did a digital publisher. Anyway, and Philip Salvik from Boom, and also previously from what's Mark Silvestri's company? Top Cow, forming their own publishing company. And the big news was there was no news about that. But Joe Quesada is launching his own comic imprint called Amazing Comics, coming from Mad Cave,
Yep.
which was unexpected, and a bunch of former DC media people, including former assistant editor, and then when I knew him, I don't remember what his job title was, but Adam Schlegman, who I hung out with at PhillyCon one year, like for the whole weekend with a bunch of DC staffers, and he was one of them. They have a new company coming out as well called, what is it? Not Cryptic. Starts with an R and has a K because the logos are like reversed. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
No.
Oh, anyway, a new comics publisher
Okay, great.
who's mainly doing horror stuff.
Okay.
And also the return of heavy metal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the last time heavy metal returned, it got canceled before it even returned.
Yeah. And the time right before that, it didn't last very long.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Not Creator. I'm thinking of the band Creator and the Creator logo because it's kind of similar. But anyway, yeah, I couldn't even tell you. And it was like 4 other media people,
Mhm.
and I can't tell you any of their names because I don't know who the people were.
Okay.
Adam Schlegman, I know because I know him personally, but also like he was credited with being a producer for Shazam, I think, maybe.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that aspect of media.
Sure.
Oh man, this is such a terrible way to have a podcast where, that thing that you heard about that thing with the comics and the thing?
I mean, luckily, it's something that I don't mean to be insulting to the people who are starting a brand new company, but it's one more comics company.
Yeah.
That when they release comics, I'm sure we'll be able to talk about them in detail. But when it's just a bunch of people announce that they're doing comic books, okay. You know how many comics come out every single week?
I didn't realize that AJ Mendez and Amy Garcia have a new Magma comic coming out.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
It is the, you should know it because it's the cover image of the retailer preview catalog.
I didn't look at that.
Okay. I noticed it today.
Oh, okay. Cool. Good for them.
Yeah.
Magma makes it easy to carry their books. I'm sure we'll have a bunch in stock.
Yeah. That's what we do. We have comics and podcasts. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.